The night Victoria Hayes was stood up at Harvest Table, the restaurant's ambient lighting did little to hide the frustration tightening her jaw. She checked her phone for the 20th time in 45 minutes. No messages, no calls, nothing from the investment partner her assistant had arranged to meet. Another waste of a rare evening away from her office. Victoria signaled for the check, eager to escape the sympathetic glances from the waitstaff. The sommelier approached with practiced deference. Victoria, would she like to take the barely touched bottle of Bordeaux home? She declined with a tight smile. What she wanted couldn't be bottled or purchased a single evening where she wasn't Victoria Hayes, the cold-blooded CEO, the woman who built Hayes Technologies from nothing into an $11 billion empire. Just one night as someone normal. A commotion erupted near the entrance. A man in his early 30s with slightly disheveled dark hair was negotiating with the hostess while holding the hand of a little girl who looked about 6 years old. His deep voice carried across the hushed restaurant. Just a quick dessert at the bar. It's her birthday, and I promised her the chocolate cake here. Victoria watched as the hostess shook her head apologetically. Friday nights at Harvest Table were booked weeks in advance, a fact Victoria knew well, having pulled strings through her company to secure her own reservation. The little girl looked up at her father with wide eyes. It's okay, Daddy. We can go somewhere else. She tugged at his hand, but disappointment shadowed her small face. Victoria felt something shift inside her chest, a feeling almost foreign after years of ruthless business decisions. Before she could think twice, she stood up. Excuse me, she called out. You can join me if you'd like. I have a table for two and it seems my companion isn't going to show. The man turned, surprise evident on his face. He hesitated, his eyes cautious yet hopeful. That's very kind, but we wouldn't want to impose. Not at all. Victoria extended her hand, noticing his strong jawline and the kind eyes that crinkled slightly at the corners. I'm Tori. She offered her nickname without thinking, the one unused since college before Hayes Technologies, before the billions. Jack Miller. And this is my daughter, Emma. He shook her hand firmly, his grip honest and unpretentious. Are you sure we're not interrupting? You look like you were just leaving. Absolutely sure. In fact, you'd be saving me from the embarrassment of dining alone after being stood up. Victoria surprised herself with the candor, the small vulnerability she rarely showed. Emma climbed onto the chair opposite Victoria, her curious eyes taking in everything from Victoria's simple but elegant black dress to her minimal jewelry. Someone was mean to you. That's not nice. Her indignation was sincere, her small brow furrowed in concern for a complete stranger. Victoria couldn't help but smile, a real smile that reached her eyes. No, it's not nice at all. But now I get to have dinner with you instead, and that seems like a much better evening. She meant it, the words flowing naturally without calculation or agenda, a rarity in her world of strategic communications and negotiated phrases. Jack sat down next to his daughter, his expression a mix of gratitude and lingering uncertainty. This is unexpected. I promised Emma chocolate cake because she got a gold star in school today. His pride in his daughter was evident, warming his voice. Well, that certainly deserves a celebration. Victoria caught the waiter's eye and gestured for menus. As they arrived, she noticed Jack's slight grimace when he glanced at the prices. Without missing a beat, she added, "This is my treat. I insist as a thank you for saving me from a lonely dinner. We can't let you do that." Ooh. His refusal was immediate, a matter of principle rather than politeness. Victoria recognized the pride in his stance, respected it even as she formulated a workaround. My company has an expense account for client dinners, and since my client canceled, it would be a shame to waste it. The lie slipped out easily, a small deception that seemed harmless in the moment. There was no client, just a blind date, and the bill would come from her personal account, a drop in the ocean of her fortune. Jack seemed to relax slightly, though a hint of dignity still straightened his shoulders. All right, but only if you let me get the tip. Victoria nodded, admiring his insistence on contributing something. Emma, oblivious to the adult negotiations, was already engrossed in the children's menu. Look, Daddy, they have mac and cheese shaped like stars. Her excitement over something so simple struck Victoria, whose childhood had been filled with extravagance that quickly lost its luster. Dinner progressed with surprising ease. Jack explained that he worked as a high school English teacher and coached the wrestling team. He'd been raising Emma alone since his wife died from complications during childbirth. The pain was evident in his eyes when he mentioned her, but there was also tremendous love when he looked at his daughter. Emma is my whole world, he said, simply ruffling her hair as she devoured her star-shaped pasta. Victoria found herself captivated by this man who spoke about literature with passion and treated his daughter with such tenderness and respect. When asked about herself, Victoria kept her answers vague. She worked in investment management. Her hours were flexible, and she had recently moved back to the city after traveling for work. What she didn't mention was that she was Victoria Hayes, founder and CEO of Hayes Technologies, a company she'd built from the ground up that had revolutionized renewable energy storage and was now valued at over $11 billion. She didn't mention the 3 homes she owned, the private jet, or the fact that she could buy this entire restaurant without blinking. For one night, she was just Tori, a woman enjoying dinner with a kind man and his adorable daughter. When Emma's chocolate cake arrived with a candle, both Victoria and Jack sang happy birthday, causing the little girl to beam with delight. Make a wish, Victoria encouraged. Emma closed her eyes tight, then blew out the candle with gusto. I'm not telling what I wished for, or it won't come true, she declared with the seriousness only a 6-year-old could muster. As the evening wound down, Jack insisted on leaving the tip, a generous amount that Victoria suspected might have been more than he could comfortably afford, but she respected his need to contribute. Thank you again, he said as they stood outside the restaurant. This was really nice. The sincerity in his voice touched something in Victoria that expensive business dinners and society events never reached. It was my pleasure, truly. Victoria found herself reluctant to say goodbye. Emma tugged on her hand, her small fingers warm against Victoria's palm. Do you like the playground? We're going to the big one in Central Park tomorrow. Her eyes were bright with hope for another encounter. Emma, Jack's gentle admonishment carried no real reprimand. I'm sure Tori has plans. Victoria hesitated only briefly. Actually, I don't. What time will you be there? The surprise on Jack's face quickly gave way to a warm smile that made Victoria's heart beat a little faster. Around noon. If that works, it's perfect. I'll see you both then. As Victoria watched them walk away, Jack holding his daughter's hand, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. A lightness, a genuine connection untainted by power dynamics or hidden agendas. She slipped into the back of her waiting town car, careful to make sure Jack and Emma had turned the corner first. Home, Ms. Hayes, her driver asked. Yes, please, James. She leaned back against the leather seat, already looking forward to tomorrow, a sensation so unfamiliar, it took her a moment to recognize it as simple happiness. The contrast between her world struck her as the car pulled up to her Upper East Side mansion. The doorman greeted her with practiced deference as she entered the marble foyer. The space was immaculate, decorated by the city's top designer, yet it had never felt like home, just a showcase for her success. Victoria kicked off her heels and padded to her home office. She hadn't planned to work tonight, but old habits died hard. Notifications crowded her phone, 3 messages from her executive team, an alert about market fluctuations in Asia, and a reminder about tomorrow's board meeting. She ignored them all, something she never did, and instead found herself searching for Jack Miller online. A few clicks revealed his profile on the Westside High School website. English department, wrestling coach, faculty advisor for the literary magazine. A man grounded in community and service. No social media presence to speak of, another rarity in this digital age. Victoria felt a strange relief at that. It meant he was unlikely to have encountered much about her online either. Her phone rang, her assistant Megan, the only person who might call this late. Victoria hesitated before answering. Everything okay with the Singapore deal? Megan's voice was crisp, professional. Yes, all finalized. But there's something else. Trevor Matthews just announced a breakthrough in solid-state battery technology. It's all over the tech news. Victoria felt her stomach tighten. Trevor Matthews, her former fiancé, the man who'd left her when Hayes Technologies was still a struggling startup, claiming he couldn't hitch his future to her unrealistic ambitions. Now he headed a rival firm, their competition as personal as it was professional. How significant is the breakthrough? Victoria moved to her computer, pulling up the business news sites. Significant enough. Early reports suggest 30% more efficiency than our current models. Stock analysts are already speculating. Megan's concern was evident even through her professional tone. Victoria scanned the article that featured Trevor's smug face alongside graphs predicting market shifts. Have the team prepare a comprehensive analysis for tomorrow's meeting. We'll need to accelerate the Jensen project. Her mind shifted into strategic mode, calculating moves and counter-moves in the corporate chess game she'd mastered. Only after hanging up did Victoria realize how completely she'd switched from Tori back to Victoria Hayes, CEO. The warm glow from dinner faded as reality reasserted itself. What was she thinking arranging to meet Jack and Emma tomorrow? Their worlds couldn't be more different. She should cancel, make up an excuse, end this before it began. Yet when she picked up her phone, she found herself unable to craft the message. The memory of Emma's hopeful face and Jack's genuine smile stopped her fingers on the screen. One day out in the park wouldn't hurt anyone. She could be Tori for a few more hours before returning fully to Victoria's world of corporate warfare and billion-dollar decisions. The next morning, Victoria woke earlier than usual, her typical efficiency replaced with an unfamiliar nervousness as she considered what to wear to a playground. Her closet filled